Once we complete a load test against the application and it is performing within acceptable limits, we may want to understand how our application will perform in above normal conditions. The type of test that puts a higher than average load on the application is called a stress test. If we were testing a bridge, we would have the most heavy trucks we can find drive on it. The way a stress test is constructed resembles a load test. The main difference is the increased load. Executing such a test makes sense because it helps us understand how the application will perform under demanding conditions which are above average. So for example, for online shop, the period around Black Friday can be considered a time where the application needs to be able to handle much more users than any other period of the year. How much more load? There's no hard rule. It can be 20% more, but it can also be 100% more. This really depends. Such data should be anchored in empirical data as much as possible. So for example, let's take last year, for example, and try to make a guess like what will be this year. Now, during a higher load, the application might perform great, or we might observe a degraded performance. Together with the business side, it is important to understand what are the acceptable limits. When doing such tests, it's also important to take a close look at a ramp down stage. So for example, let's say we're starting the test and the application performance is degraded. It's not really bad, but it is also below what ideal would be. Now, let's say something like this happens. It's also important to understand if the application manages to recover, because it's possible that once this degraded performance kicks in, the application can no longer recover. So even if we have a degradation in performance, what you want to observe is during the ramp down stage that the performance comes back to normal values.